There is a place in United States where asking the wrong question used to be enough to end a career. Not because the answer was dangerous, but because the question itself was. Secrecy doesn't just hide information, it teaches people what not to ask. And over time, it creates something more powerful than truth. Belief. For nearly 60 years, the United States government insisted this place did not exist. Yet, people worked there. Aircrafts were tested there. Decisions were made there that would never appear in public records. This is not a story about aliens. It's a story about secrecy and silence and how it began here. The name Area 51 sounds mysterious, secretive, almost as it is made to raise suspicion. But it wasn't like this originally. In 1950s, the US government divided the Nevada desert into grids. Each section was numbered. Area 51 was just one of those sections. Bureaucratic, unremarkable. The location itself was called Groom Lake, a dry lake bed surrounded by mountains, isolated from public and difficult to reach. And that isolation wasn't accidental. In the early Cold War, secrecy wasn't just a preference, it was survival. The United States needed a place that doesn't officially exist because acknowledging them would reveal what was happening inside. Area 51 wasn't built to hide mysteries, it was built to hide technologies. But hiding something for long enough has consequences. In the early 1950s, the Cold War was escalating fast. United States have one overwhelming fear, not knowing what the Soviet Union was doing. Nuclear weapon had changed everything, and intelligence gathering from the ground was no longer enough. The solution was simple in theory, but impossible in practicality. No aircraft at the time could fly high enough to avoid detection until they made one that did. The U-2 spy plane, designed to fly higher than any aircraft before it. The U-2 could photograph enemy territory without being intercepted. But there was a problem. If the Soviet Union discovered this aircraft, the advantage would be lost instantly. So the U-2 program needed a place that no one would question, investigate, or even acknowledge. That place was Area 51. The planes were tested there, the pilots were trained, and the secrecy surrounding the program was absolute. Even Congress wasn't fully informed. And here where something important happens. At that altitude, the U-2 reflected sunlight in a way no one had ever seen before. Its shape was unfamiliar. Its speed was impossible by civilian standards. Pilots, civilians, and radar operators, they started seeing things that they couldn't explain, and they reported it as unidentified flying objects, UFO. Not because they were extraterrestrial, but because they were unidentified. The secrecy surrounding Area 51 went far beyond normal military protocols. Workers were flown in on unmarked planes with blacked out windows. Families were never told where their relatives worked. Some employees even never knew the full purpose of the project they were assigned to. If someone died on the job, the circumstances were often never publicly acknowledged. And when the questions were asked, even by the government officials, the response was the same: denial. Area 51 didn't exist and nothing happened there. The lie was consistent and it also worked, but it also created something else: distrust. By the time rumors began spreading, the government have already lost control of the narrative. People were seeing strange lights in the sky, experimental aircrafts behaving in ways that nothing ever could. And every time someone asked for an explanation, they were told there was nothing to explain. Media avoided the topic, officials refused interviews, and documents were classified or either destroyed. Silence filled the gap, and when authority refuses to speak, imagination becomes evidence. Area 51 slowly stopped being a military testing site in the public's mind. It became something else, a symbol of mysteries, secrecy, of things hidden in the plain sight. The government didn't lie because it wanted to scare people. It lied because at that time it made sense. Admitting Area 51 existed meant explaining things they didn't want to explain. New aircraft, secret surveillance, and how much of it was happening without the public consent. So they denied it once, then again, then for decades. And over time, the denial stopped being about protecting a single project. It became the default response. Something uncomfortable happens when you realize that. Because when you find out that you have been lied to for that long, even if the reason was national security, it changes how you hear every explanation after that. Area 51 stopped feeling like a base. It started to feel like a proof that there are things that you are simply not meant to know. And once that thought takes root, it doesn't stay contained. Today, the US government admits the Area 51 exists. You can see it on map, you can track planes going in and out. It's not a secret anymore. But the explanation never really came, not a full one. And that's what makes this story really uncomfortable. Because if Area 51 was just about testing aircrafts, why did the silence lasted so long? Why let the rumors grow instead of shutting them down? Maybe Area 51 wasn't just a place where secrets were kept. Maybe it was a place where we learned something about how easily attention can be redirected, how myths can survive, and how silence can be more powerful than answers. And that leads to a bigger question. What if Area 51 wasn't hiding the secrets? What if it was hiding the fact that something much larger was happening somewhere else? Because while everyone was looking here, other faculties were expanding, budgets were growing, and secrecy doesn't disappear. It multiplied. That's where this stops being history. And that's where part 2 begins. Click here to watch the next part.